What's up, everybody? I'm Mr. Second Passport, and today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic: how to get anywhere in South America for under $100. Now, you don't need miles, you don't need to know anyone, you don't need to be a frequent client or anything, or pay any subscriptions or anything to anyone, including myself. Wouldn't be a bad idea, but no. The strategy here is different. You have to know where to fly from in order to get where you want to go for under $100. Okay, so we're going to cover that today. For instance, okay, right now I currently live in Ecuador. In order for me to fly from Quito to Lima, you know how much it costs? It's expensive. It's like $350 one way, like $500, $550 round trip. It's expensive. But instead of flying from Quito or Guayaquil, Ecuador, go down, if you're in Ecuador and you want to go, say, to Lima, you go down to the border, you cross the border, and you fly from Tumbes. From Tumbes to Lima, it's this town right across the little sketchy town right across the border from Ecuador to Peru, and you fly Tumbes to Lima for often $30 to $50 one way. You can get to Lima. From Lima, you can get, say you want to go to Machu Picchu. From Lima, you can get to Cusco. Let me get this right. Yeah, for around $30, $35 one way. For me, the best way that I use, that I like to search for flights, that I've seen these prices on as well, is Google Flights, google.com/flights, because you can compare whole months at a time. Most expats, most travelers are a little flexible with their dates, so you can compare whole months at a time and pick out the best dates that work for you. And so all these prices I'm naming, I found on Google Flights. So anyway, and yes, I've done a lot of these flights myself. Say you're in Machu Picchu. Let's say you want to get to Bolivia. From Cusco to La Paz, it's actually a pretty nice scenic 4 or 5 hour bus ride to the border, and then another few hours to La Paz. I've done it myself. Copacabana, Lake Titicaca. It's a very nice place if you want to go by land, but if you want to go by air, $73 one way. Cusco to La Paz, Bolivia, where you could also from there branch off and see the amazing Salar de Uyuni salt flats. Also, from Lima, say you want to get to Chile. Well, from Lima, there's a cheap budget airline called Sky Airlines, and through Sky, you can fly Lima to Santiago for around $60, $70 one way to get to Santiago, Chile. So that's still under your $100. Okay, now, say you want to get over to Argentina. Well, from Santiago to Buenos Aires, there are cheap flights for around $63, starting around $63 from Santiago to Buenos Aires. Or say you want to go down the mountain to Mendoza, Argentina, and fly across the country to Rosario, Argentina. Those prices are running around $64, $65. From Santiago, say you want to get to Brazil. From Santiago to Sao Paulo is starting around $60, $67, $70 one way. Santiago to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Now, the key to traveling Brazil, because I've done it myself, buses, forget it. They're expensive as hell. Forget about buses altogether traveling in Brazil. What you want to do when you travel Brazil is fly. But the key is you have to know the cheap way to fly around Brazil is from Sao Paulo. If you can get to Sao Paulo, like I just showed you how to do for $100 from Santiago, Chile, if you can travel around, you can get anywhere in Brazil. You can get to Foz de Iguazu, starting around $76 one way from Sao Paulo. You can get to Salvador in the north of Brazil for $65, or Belo Horizonte for $32 from Sao Paulo. That's the key, because in Brazil there's this other cheap budget airline called Gol that flies all over. You could get to the far north of Brazil, like Fortaleza, for $88. And that's a huge distance travel. That's like Florida to Seattle almost. I mean, it's a huge distance, and you can do it for just $88. And once you're in, for example, or Belém in the north, and say you want to go further north and you want to travel the very very infrequently traveled Guyanas, French and British Guiana and Suriname. For example, you could go to Paramaribo in Suriname from Belém, one way $81. Belém is in the north of Brazil to Suriname, $81. And then from Paramaribo, there's another cheap airline that you can find on Google Flights that flies to Trinidad. We break our $100 barrier just by a little bit. They start around $160, $165 here entering 2020. Flying from Paramaribo to Trinidad and Tobago. And from Trinidad and Tobago, you can get up pretty cheaply to Fort Lauderdale, Miami area for around $130, $140 one way. So that's an idea. And in one country I didn't cover was Colombia. There's a cheap airline that flies between Ecuador and Colombia called Wingo. That flights are going for around $145, $149 one way from Quito to Bogota. That's good, but if you want to go even cheaper, cross the Ecuador border, take that 4-hour bus from Quito to the border to this town called Pasto, which is just inside the Colombia border. You can fly one way from Pasto to Bogota or vice versa for around $61 to $81 one way. And the cheapest way to get from Fort Lauderdale, USA, or anywhere in USA is to get to Fort Lauderdale and fly down using Spirit Airlines. This is the cheapest I've found. To either Bogota or Guayaquil in Ecuador. Coming down for $120 and going up for $200. Why is it like that? It's because of these in-country taxes down here in Latin America. That's what inflates the price going back up. But coming back down, you can get here. I'm seeing from Fort Lauderdale to Bogota or Guayaquil for around $120 one way. So that's the cheapest way I found to get from North to South America. So that's it. I'm Mr. Second Passport. I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of future videos from me.